Commissioner Major League Baseball, he's Rob Manfred joining us on the program. World Series kicks off on Fox. First pitch will be Friday night at 8:08 between the Yankees and the Dodgers. How often do people hit you up for World Series tickets?
I would say I worked probably 10 hours yesterday. I'd say about 5 of them were devoted to ticket requests.
How do you tell somebody no?
Look, people understand, that even we don't have unlimited supplies of World Series tickets. Obviously, season ticket holders kind of go first, and you just have to be honest with people about availability.
So I could be your plus one, is what you're saying.
Dan, if you want to go, we'll find you tickets. Okay. Yeah.
What about throwing out the first pitch? Is that booked already?
The first pitch is booked well in advance.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all done.
How will baseball honor Fernando Valenzuela on Friday?
There will be an activation in the ballpark. I think best to leave the details of that to be disclosed when it happens. But look, Fernando was a really important part of our history. You don't have many players who take over a season the way he did, and we will honor him accordingly.
Could he go into the Hall of Fame as a contributor? If I look at his career, really what he did, impact with race relations with Mexico, with Los Angeles. And, it was more than just he was a pitcher for a little while in baseball.
I think that's one of the, I'm on the Hall of Fame board, but I don't serve on these committees. I do think that after the writers have their opportunity, which, is a process that I think has served the Hall well, and I have great respect for. I do think that the era committees, if you'll let me refer to them that way, are important in terms of giving consideration to factors like you raise with Fernando, that, it's not just how many wins and, what your ERA was, but what did you mean to the game in a particular era?
Yeah, that's why, it's tricky with being a contributor, because I argued for Buck O'Neil for years that Buck O'Neil was the voice for the Negro Leagues. When somebody said, what was cool Papa Bell, what was Josh Gibson like? They went to Buck O'Neil, so Buck was telling stories about everybody. I said, that's the ultimate contributor while being a baseball player. So I like that part of it, but I just don't know what qualifies and what doesn't.
Yeah, no, I do think that I think that in the era committee process, individuals who didn't get in with the writers are given consideration on a broader set of factors than the writers may give credence to.
He's the commissioner, Rob Manfred. If I would have told you in March, hey, you're going to get through the Shohei Ohtani situation, and you're going to have the Yankees and the Dodgers in the World Series, you would have said what?
It was about time I caught a break.
All right.
Look, honestly, the season has been phenomenal for us, Stan. Our attendance really strong. Our ratings are good. Our demographics are getting younger. Our 18 to 34 numbers really strong. Our average age of our ticket buyers has gone down almost 5 years in the last 4 years. All of those things are really strong. We had great markets in the postseason with some of our most exciting players represented. And maybe the best thing about the postseason so far, the actual individual games have been so compelling. We have had all of the things that, based on our research, fans want to see: late inning pitching changes, action. It's just been phenomenal.
I think I love the 3-game series. I love a 5-game series. I think it caught people's attention earlier than normal because there was urgency there. And therefore, we didn't wait till, championship series or the World Series to watch. It was, you better watch now. This team could get bounced.
I think that we kind of found the sweet spot on the wild card round. I think that, in the early years, it was a knockout game, and obviously people pay attention to knockout games. But I think for our fan base as a whole, that's not the way baseball's played. And I think, the quick 3-game series in one market gives us an opportunity to capture fans earlier in the playoffs. And when you get the things I referred to before, the late inning lead changes and those sorts of things going on, you capture people and you carry that audience through.
When's the last time you got a raise?
Let me see. I got to think about that. I think I'm going to get a raise in January. How about that?
Do you know?
I know I'm getting a raise in January. Yeah.
Okay. So you have a contract now. I had a contract at ESPN. It told me what it was going to go up incrementally each year. Do you have does your contract state what it's going to do? You never thought you were getting this question today, did you?
No, I do have a contract. I got 4 years left on my contract, and it sets forth compensation in a variety of forms: salary, bonus, whatever.
How do you know you've had a good year?
There is actually a review process that goes on. There's a committee of owners that we present information to, and they go through, and I sit with them at an owners meeting, and they give me their view of how I've done for the year.
But do you want to hit home runs, or you want to have a great on-base percentage as commissioner?
I think it's important for a CEO to be steady. I think that stability, consistent progress is really, really important.
I know we're not there at the off season, but what rule tweaks are we looking at?
Well, the biggest thing that's going on right now is the automated strike zone. We continued the testing in the minor leagues last year. We have decided that we're going to test the challenge version. There's 2 versions of ABS, one where every pitch gets called in the umpire's ear, and the other that's a challenge system. We're going to test this challenge system in spring training with major league players. One of the things that we learned with the rule changes that we did a couple of years ago, and one of the things we've heard from players is just remember, whatever you do in the minor leagues, it's great, but the big leagues are different. And we're going to try to determine whether the system we have is up to snuff to be used by major league players.
Is it inevitable we're going to have automatic balls and strikes, in your opinion? During your next 4 years, will we have automated strike zone?
I think you will see some version of the automated strike zone in the big leagues in the next 4 years. Look, the technology piece of it is so robust, Dan. Literally the path of the pitch is tracked good to 1/100th of an inch. And it's just hard to ignore that kind of technology when it's available.
And I think the key is that, obviously you remember, the pitch clock was, oh my God, what are they doing? And then nobody brought it up. It hasn't come up in months. Oh, the bigger bases. Oh, we need pizza boxes out there. It doesn't come up anymore.
This is why you're so good at what you do. I have to tell you, when we think about change, we think about it exactly the way that you describe it. That we're going to put a change out there, and no matter how big or how small it is, the first month is going to be hell on wheels. Everybody's going to hate it. And then, they see it, and the game is still the game, and it makes the game a little better, and people get used to it. Even little things. You remember, it was a few years ago now, we went to you can just signal for an intentional walk. You don't have to throw the 4 pitches. My voicemail after that change was made, for about the first 3 weeks, people called me. You can't repeat the things people say on my office voicemail. It's just people literally lose their mind over a change that's completely inconsequential.
Wait, I can call you in your office and leave a voice message?
Oh, just yeah. Unfortunately, people figure out how to get here. Yeah,
Oh
they
my
do.
God! Can I give out your number now in case anybody
No,
wants to be upset with the automated? Oh,
I would
okay.
prefer we put them to the test on that. Okay.
So they're leaving messages on there.
Oh yeah, yeah. People leave messages. Look. One of the great things about the game, it's taken me time to come to appreciate this. Good, bad, or indifferent. The fact that people are passionate enough about the game to take time to express their views in very strong ways, that is a strength of our sport. I mean, it demonstrates the connection that people have to the game and how much they care about the game.
You know what? I think you had a great year, and I've said this before the last couple of months, but you took chances. Get rid of those stupid All-Star game uniforms. That's the next thing on the list, right? We're taking care of that, right?
Yep, we are.
Okay, that's an easy fix, right?
Well, let's talk about that for a minute because it's sort of an interesting one. You know, one of the reasons that we stayed where we were for as long as we did is the All-Star Game uniforms was a product that sold a lot. Usually when people are buying something, it's an indication that they think it's a good idea. This was a really interesting one. People were buying it.
But they hated it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they bought it if they hated it that much. But look, I think it's a change that's good for us over the long
Yeah,
haul.
but you
And
can still do that, Commissioner. You can still make an alternative jersey, but let's go back to the old school
yeah,
of.
we'll have jerseys that we use during the home run derby. Probably that I think that's where it will land. That so we will still have the product, but it was an interesting one, and I do think it's one of those experiments where we did it. People spoke, we listened, and we're back to where we were.
The Pete Rose documentary, did you watch it?
I did. I did. Mhm.
Did you find out anything that you didn't know or something that maybe you cared a little more about?
Um, Look, I'd spent enough time with Pete over the years that I had a pretty good feel for what he was about. I think the best thing about the documentary is it presented a pretty accurate picture of who Pete is and was. I mean, he was a complicated person. Combination of appealing and unappealing aspects that you don't often find in a human being.
All right, I want you to answer this so I don't have to answer it anymore. When my audience says, yeah, but baseball is in bed with gambling, and so aren't they being hypocritical with Pete Rose?
Yeah, here's how I think about that. I think it's a privilege to work in Major League Baseball and to be a Major League Baseball player. Often, when you have a privilege, it comes with obligations. The obligation in this case is to stay away from gambling because it involvement with gambling by people who work in the game and can influence outcomes reflects and presents a threat to the integrity of the game. So that's a category of people. Fans are different. The government, in this case, the Supreme Court, paved the way for legalization of sports betting. Fans want to engage with the game in that way. They present no threat to the integrity of the game or a minimal threat to the integrity of the game. And as a result, we have different rules that apply to those fans and have taken advantage of that business opportunity. I don't see any inconsistency between those two rules. I really don't.
I worry about prop bets, Commissioner.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to say we have lobbied against prop bets in a variety of states, all the states actually. They are certainly more problematic than outcome based, who won the game kind of bets. And we have tried to get the states to recognize that there are some, well, betting per se. Sports betting may be fine. There are certain kinds of bets that are problematic.
Great to talk to you. Take a victory lap. You certainly had a great year. Major League Baseball had a great year as well, and hopefully we get a great World Series. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dan. It's always a pleasure.
That's Rob Manfred. He's been the commissioner since 2015.